right. Welcome to our latest Ragic office hour. All right, we have 4 questions for today. So let's get started. Okay, fastest way to move data to Ragic. My company has data spread in different systems and places such as Excel sheets, certain software, Airtable, etc. If I would like to have them all in Ragic as one complete database, what's the best and fastest way? Okay, to move your data to Ragic, basically there are, we usually categorize them into 3 ways. So, okay, the first one is the easiest so there are basically 3 ways for Ragic, for you to move data to Ragic. Okay, so the first one is for you to do a manual import. So basically you can export your data from your data source, or maybe it's Excel already, and you can just manually import them into Ragic. This is the most basic way to do that, and also the easiest way. But the drawback of this is that it has to be done manually, so it's not automated. So whenever you have new data from your data source, you'll need to do the import again. So this is good for like legacy data, like the other system that you're no longer using, or that spreadsheet that you're no longer using. So you could just import them into Ragic and be done with it. So the first way would be to manual import. Okay, let me check our document page for a document for more detail on how to do this kind of import. Manual import. Okay. Okay, so secondly, if the data source is still being updated, and it might be a little bit cumbersome for you to do a daily import manually to export data from the data source, like your ERP system, CRM system, and import it into Ragic. So to automate this, we have something called a periodic import. So if the data source is still being updated, you can use periodic import to automate this. Okay, so we have another document page in this. Periodic import from URL. Okay, so how this works is that if you can make the data source into a CSV or Excel feed, and Ragic will be able to fetch that CSV or Excel file every day, periodically, to sync the data source into Ragic. Okay, so that you don't have to do the manual import for every time that the data source is updated or every day. Okay. For more real-time data sync, you can use Zapier if your application supports it. Okay, so Zapier is another application that's used to sync a lot of different types of SaaS applications. So usually they're usually for well-known SaaS applications. So any 2 applications that are supported by Zapier, then it can be synced between these applications. But it's more used for syncing data like in real time, but it doesn't support the batch import as well as the manual imports. Okay, so if Zapier is not supported, you can use the HTTP API for real-time sync. Okay, so if your data is not really still changing, then manual import should be relatively the easiest way to do this. API, API doc. All right. So basically, three ways to move your data to Ragic. So first of all, manual import, manual import CSV or Excel files. Okay, and if the data source is updated, you need some syncing mechanism to be automated. You can use the periodic import, and for real-time sync, you can use tools like Zapier, Integromat, or an HTTP API. But you need to know that, if you need to use HTTP API, you'll need to, at least do a little bit of coding. Okay. All right. Next question. Okay. More information about the different Ragic plans, especially the enterprise plan. Okay. I'm a bit confused about Ragic's plans, especially the enterprise plan. What does it contain? Okay, the biggest difference between the enterprise plan is that I think there are two major differences for the enterprise plan. The reasons that usually people go for the enterprise plan. The first one is that it has single sign-on, SAML single sign-on, and if it's required by your organization to have a SAML based single sign-on, or you have a custom single sign-on solution, and you'll probably that you need to integrate with, then you will probably need to use the enterprise plan. And otherwise, the biggest reason is to have a dedicated server. So for the enterprise plan, it comes with a dedicated server feature, so that you can we can move your Ragic installation to a dedicated server, so that you have a more detailed control over when your application should be updated with the latest version, and complete control over the maintenance window of your application. And also, because that the server that's used to host your application is only single tenant, so it's less likely to be affected by the performance will not be affected by like neighboring, like other accounts on the same server in any way. Because in rare cases, the performance of your application, because we're basically a multi-tenanted system, so on each server there are thousands or more than thousands of accounts on the single server. So, and there are going to be some cases that if some account is doing something unexpected, or they're doing something unusual, that it might consume more server resource as we might have expected. When this happens, it might affect other accounts that's on the user. But whenever it happens, we will be adding more measures to avoid this type of resource consumption in the future. So we're always adding measures to make sure that your account on your server is not affected by other accounts on the same server. But to avoid this type of situation altogether, or if this type of thing is something that you never want to encounter, then you getting an enterprise plan would make more sense for your company, so that your account is hosted on the fully dedicated server. Okay, and there are also other perks for the enterprise account, including, I think it includes development accounts. So you can have other free sandbox and development accounts that you can use to test out your application, for you to develop your JavaScript workflow. So it has other perks that could be useful for enterprise customers. But usually the biggest perk that people would like to, the biggest perk for the enterprise plan is the dedicated server, because it's gonna be a dedicated server that we pay for and we manage. So it's basically a fully managed dedicated VM that we use to host host your enterprise account. Okay, so I hope this explains the enterprise plan in more detail. And okay, so the second part of the question is that your organization has around 100 people. Since it may be a bit large, does it mean I would need to choose enterprise plan? No. Usually for larger organizations, usually around like more than 1,000 people, we would usually usually suggest them to use the unlimited concurrent user plan. So for the concurrent user plan, what it means is that for the concurrent user plan, you can add as many users as you need, and without purchasing any additional like named user license. But all we control is the maximum number of concurrent users that's on the system at the same time. So we only control the maximum number of concurrent users. So usually for large enterprises, you can choose a concurrent user plan. And we also have two types of concurrent user plan. One is the normal professional version concurrent user plan, and the other one is the enterprise plan, the enterprise concurrent user plan. So it depends on if you need the enterprise plan, the perks for the enterprise plan or not, like if you need a dedicated server. And for both plans, you can choose to use named user or concurrent users. So if you have a large enterprise, then not everybody is online all the time. So it would make sense for you to choose the concurrent user plan. Okay? Yeah, so the last sentence makes sense. So if your organization is big and you don't need a dedicated server or single sign-on or developmental sandbox and development test servers or other perks for the enterprise plan. So yeah, the concurrent user plan would be suitable for you. Okay? Okay. To sum up, if you have a large number of users that does not need to be on the using Ragic at the same time, it would be more cost effective to use the concurrent user plan. Enterprise plan is usually for companies that needs a dedicated server or SAML custom SO integration or other types of customization. Okay? You can also choose a concurrent enterprise plan, concurrent user enterprise plan if needed. Okay? Hope this answers your question. All right. Is there a field I can reference in mail merge for the current user? Okay, I'm not referencing anything to do with workflow approval users, okay? I've located how to reference the user in mail merge. I'm interested in my user being able to merge a mail merge document, such as a letter, and having the ability to include the name of the person executing the mail merge into the document. Is there a field name I can reference to accomplish that? Well, I suppose what you're saying is that the user executing the mail merge is not included in the record as a field. So because if you can add a field to the record, with the default value of the current user which is editing it, and then you could just reference that field from the mail merge. But I suppose that the person executing the mail merge is not in the document, and you still would like to have the user's name or email into the document. So right now, this is not supported because we basically always fetch values from the record to do the mail merge. So yeah, but this is certainly something that we can support in the future. That we just fetch the login user email or username during the mail merge. Yeah. Right now this is not supported, but we can support this in the future. Yeah. Yeah, this is not very difficult, so I'll talk to our developers and see if we can have some good notation on the mail merge document for you to reference the username or user email. Okay. And thank you for your suggestion. Okay. Sharing an entry via other message apps. Okay, instead of sharing via emails, would it be possible to share entries using WhatsApp, text messages, or other texting apps? Okay, yeah. We are in the process of doing this type of sharing, and for the Asian customers, we already supported sharing via Line. So Line is the popular text messaging app in like East Asia. So yeah, I think it would make sense for us to add a similar support for line sharing, like line sharing for WhatsApp. So yeah, we'll be adding. I think we're already in the process of that. So we should be adding WhatsApp sharing or text sharing in the near future. But for text sharing, email list entry, yeah, not text, but from the listing page. I think from the listing page, you should be able to send mass SMS. And when you're sending mass SMS, you should be able to refer to some of the fields in there. But yeah, but it's not like sharing an entry. So yeah, we should be able to add this kind of support, sharing with WhatsApp. But for text messages, I'm not completely sure, but I'll need to check our developers on with this. Okay. Support for share this entry with WhatsApp in the near future, and we will look into sharing with SMS text. Yeah, I can imagine there'd be more problem with sharing with SMS text because it might be longer than one message and it might be cut into multiple ones. But these should be small technical issues. Okay. Okay, and thank you for the suggestion. All right, so that's it for the Ragic office hour today. So thank you for joining, and we'll talk again in 2 weeks. All right, bye.